Hello, everybody. Well, today we're going to do our wrap-up for MMC Assaultus. A fantastic combiner. I've had a lot of combiners over the years. The only ones that were really stable were the smaller, like, Make Toys combiners. Those were quite good. But, you know, I had TFC's Prometheus, their version of the Protectobots, and that thing wasn't terribly stable. And then I have Shuriking, which is hideously unstable. Warbatron, another Bruticus, which was pretty good. It stood. And the other big one I have is the Jinbao. I have the Oversized Feral Rex, which is okay. It just kind of stands there. Not a very good aesthetically, I don't think. And then I have the Oversized Gravity Builder, which stands. I mean, this guy's kind of in the same position. He's not going to do anything really dynamic, but he does have like the posability you would expect. Just none of the joints are quite strong enough to deal with the excess weight that we're talking about in something this size. The only thing I have this size that was pretty stable for joint-wise was the Studio Cell 1, whatever the hell its name is, the Unicron. That thing was pretty good. I still have it, but I mean, that thing's good. It has really good joints. They did, with the final, with Probus, it did include a new joint for this arm. But my joint for this arm was actually super weak. So I actually took the joint from this arm and put it over here and put the new super stiff joint on that side, because this is the gun arm and this is a bigger, heavier figure. That's part of the reason they included it. It also came with a replacement head for Fraudo that had a better smirk on it, so I switched that out, and that's it. That's what it came with. That's what Probus came with. Had to learn a new thing. At first I thought, well, I could probably copy the sequence, because I have, you know, all the sequences, the transformation, where I've put in all the pauses and everything. But I had the sequences for all 5 figures, and I'm like, well, I guess maybe I copy it and then I paste it into a different project, but Premiere Pro will not let you open 2 projects simultaneously, so that was out. So I had to do some Googling, or DuckDuckGoing, and I found the function in Premiere Pro where you can import a sequence. So I carefully wrote down which sequence number, because I don't name the sequences. I carefully wrote down the sequence number for each of the 5 sequences and then imported them one by one. And it worked out really good. I just did I did a photo shoot actually Saturday, because we had the thing going on at work and I just had some downtime on Saturday. And I didn't know how free Sunday would be. So I went ahead and just did my shooting on Saturday, and I just did, like, you know, all the vehicles on the turntable, and then I just transformed each one. That sequence you see at the end where it's kind of like a reverse speed run, like after this finishes his rotation, he starts going the other way. Those are the frames in reverse order that I shot them. So they're just transforming instantly. And that's what I shot on Saturday. Can he do a superhero landing? Well, I don't know. Let's find out. First, we'll get rid of the gun just to save ourselves some trouble. And maybe this arm can be a fist. So let's see. The superhero landing, as I understand it. Let's see. We'll get this knee here. Gotta get this out of the way so we can do this leg. He does have an ab crunch, which is nice. I don't know if we can get him down on his knee successfully. I mean, he can kind of... You know, he can kind of do it. It's hard to get his fist on the ground. Straighten this out as much as possible. You know, he can kind of do it. His knees do bend a good 90 degrees. Nothing quite has the hip articulation to do a proper superhero landing like Iron Man does. Side note, I always thought Iron Man was pretty unrealistic. I mean, the G-forces he has to experience inside that costume aren't made up for by the fact that he has an iron costume on. That's just absurd. At least in the comics, he supposedly had these high-tech inertial dampers or whatever. They never mentioned that in the movies, so... The classic superhero landing is when Iron Man comes in on Iron Man 2, and he comes down and he lands on the stage. And I mean, the G-forces involved, because he's going like free fall speeds. He's going like 100 miles an hour, and then he hits the stage in that kneeling position, the superhero landing, and he just hits the stage and just stops instantly. And how is he not... I would love to see a parody of it where he like, bam, hits the stage and then he doesn't move. And then you just see blood trickling out of the costume because he's been turned into paste inside. That's not really Transformers related, I'm sorry. I'll probably say that whole thing again one day, so be prepared. So that's it. I could go over some notes on combining different parts of them. I've kind of done this before. Both of these pieces on the arm are identical. So one has the lock facing backwards. There's a little locking mechanism. And the other one has the lock facing the same way for the piece, which is forwards on that side. So they didn't make mirror image pieces. But basically you unlock it and then it slides out really easy. I've had a few combiners, and they always want to make the combiner joint really sturdy, and they also want to make, like, you've seen the ones where it's like an octagon on this side and you snap it in and it's got to form the joint at that point, and that's problematic because it's really hard to plug and unplug those. So Ocular Max MMC did a really great job of just making it very simple. You just have a locking joint, locks like that. It captures this T-shaped thing here. And all you got to do is just easily slide it in, no problem at all, and lock it. Because they left the joint on the piece, on the torso. So that's really cool. So we can take the arms off just for fun. Just get them out of the way. Let's talk about the knees for a second. I tried to show the steps in the video, but it's not entirely possible to explain it visually like that because it's a bunch of stuff moving a tiny little amount. But basically, this knee joint, let's just, we'll get it undone, and then we'll do it. But it helps to lift this up, because then that whole thing can kind of shift forward, which includes the slot the leg slides into. So let's do a little close-up of that. I think I explained it last time, but now that he's all together, let's explain it. But basically, this is the position it would be in, kind of locked in, and it doesn't move. It's not part of the joint, after all. But I find that I can't really get it to slide into this groove. How do I show you? This sort of mushroom, this slider, right there. It slides in, you know. But it's kind of hard to get it to slide in at this angle, so what you can do is pull that out. This kind of prevents it from moving, but now it can slide. You can rotate a little bit. And that makes it a lot easier to slide it in, and then you rotate it back, lock that down, and put the turret back into position. And now he's, you know, the leg's not going to go anywhere. This guy's a little more straightforward because, of course, this peg's on here. And this, it locks on because that whole thing opens. But that's the idea. So for the sake of completeness, we're just going to put them back together. So this is just sliding on like that. You make sure this thing can rotate, this whatever the hell it's supposed to be. I don't know if it adds to the structural integrity at all, but this can rotate around that way. You don't want it that way. You want it facing that way. And you bend this joint like 45 degrees just to get everything out of the way. You slide it into the groove so that this thing hits it. Then you can lock it down on the back. And then you take this foot, has a couple of tabs, holes and tabs, and you're just locking that together. So it really holds together well. It becomes part of the knee joint. I mean, this figure's, like I said, the legs aren't entirely as stable as you might hope they would be, but the parts don't fall off. You can carry the thing around, and you're not, you know, even Warbitron I would carry around, and I'd worry about stuff falling off of it, but this thing is really stable. So we'll lock that on, bring it straight, close it down, put the thing down. Before you put this down, though, it helps to go ahead and this one you have to kind of articulate it a little bit differently to get the tabs to go. So this is kind of bent more in that direction, but this also has tabs that you can tab onto. If I can get it. There we go. So it does lock on just like the other one. But nice stable legs. And then, like I said, you just pop open the locking mechanism on the shoulders and you got yourself some arms. Just lock them on. Really easy. Really fun to work with. Fantastic figure. I'm looking forward to their Protectobots. That'll be awesome. And my prayer is that they go ahead and do a really good set of aerial bots afterwards. But who's to say where they're going to go after Protectobots? Certainly the Protectobots are kind of underrepresented. There hasn't been like a full-scale Protectobots yet. I know Generation Toy is working on a set, but there's no sign of their hotspot, so who can say if that's going to show up? It was not a very lively chat today. How was it? How was everybody? Anyone there? And then I'll wait 20 minutes while the delay occurs. I do have some new things to report. I have a poll up to ask you guys which one you would want to see next. But I do have... Let me just get them both out of the bag here. The options on the poll are the lovely Big Firebird Toys Nice, which is kind of an RC type figure. It became discombobulated. Cool little figure. It's got very stable ankles. It's maybe a little too sexy for YouTube. It's a little ridiculous. And yet, she doesn't have double elbows, so she can't quite, you know, pose how you might want. She does have good double knees, though, so she can kind of do superhero landing. Of course, we'll discuss her the Wednesday after we do a stop motion, but I just thought I'd show that I have that. And the other option on the poll is the new MPM Ratchet. I know people are generally more excited, or you have more excitement about mainline or, you know, officially first-party figures. So this guy's an option. Either way, they're going to be done over the next couple of weeks. So it's just, I put it up to you guys which way you want to go with it. Do you want to see the MPM 11 right away? Hot new toy? Or the slightly more obscure, but definitely a hot toy? Big Firebird Toys Nice, who for some reason has a belly button. Doesn't make a lot of sense, but whatever. Hey, she's not bad. She was just engineered that way. If any of you remember Roger Rabbit. Oh yeah. Studio Series is going to be doing G1 homages. That's really cool. I like Studio Series. They've got some good designers on that. The mainline toys are sometimes clever, sometimes it's kind of boring. But Studio Series has some pretty good designers. So I'm looking forward to. I saw a transformation video for their hot rod, and it was really clever. I mean, it was, if anything, the fit and finish wasn't quite the same as a masterpiece like MP28 or whatever, but it was a better transformation than any other hot rod I'd ever seen. It was really good. And their I saw their Cyclonus looks really good. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that Studio Series shift from the Bay movies, which they're kind of running out of stuff to do. I mean, I guess we haven't had our Studio Series skids and mud flap yet. I hope we never do, because I don't care. Frankly, their deluxes from the movie lines was, you know, a few years ago was perfectly good. So I don't know that we need them. I don't know, but they did all the wreckers. There was finally a U.S. release of a Leadfoot. I did get the rare Japanese Leadfoot. Some company made a KO of it, so it was like impossible. You'd have to pay like $300 to get the damn thing, and so some KO company capitalized on it and made a KO of the movie Leadfoot from a few years ago. So I got that. So I already had a full set of wreckers, but now I have the Studio Series wreckers. So, la-di-da. Well, this might be a short one. There wasn't much to discuss. There's not a lot to the transformation here, other than what you saw in the stop motion. I didn't transform the feet for you live because they're not that complicated. I don't feel like taking it apart. Maybe I'll just give you a little preview of how this guy transforms without any particular commentary. It's up to you, though. Do you want to see the sexy little RC Nicey, or do you want to see the MPM 11 Ratchet? It's completely up to you. One of them is going to be featured this Sunday. Come on, man. Why are you messing with me? Fortunately, they make this so that it can pop loose without breaking it. Or maybe, unfortunately. I don't think I would ever have pulled on it so hard it would break, but they do that for safety reasons or something. I have the sequence worked out for this guy for the most part. It's just a matter of making a few decisions about the presentation. You don't want to spend too much time with them laying on their back being transformed. I mean, what are they? Fans Toys Rouge? But still, you want to avoid it if you can. It's kind of irritating. I've debated whether I should glue it, but the windshield is just kind of tabbed into this hinge piece. And so I'm like, do I want to glue it? It comes off enough that I think, well, maybe I shouldn't glue it. But... So he does the full rotate just like the original Voyager toy did. He's just a little more complicated. Has a few more steps. But it seems like all they ever do in the toy line, in the MPM line anymore, is they make a shell former. And they do a really decent job of wadding the shell up onto the back. But if you remember this guy from the movie, he was a lot leaner and taller than this comes across as, because this thing ends up being kind of fat because of the shell folding up. So he ends up with a pretty substantial backpack, and It's kind of funny looking. But he's pretty clever. He's got a lot of little steps. He's certainly less frustrating than NPM Ironhide, so he has that beat. Ironhide, I'd definitely have to watch my own video to see how to transform that stupid thing. It was pretty annoying. This is just a little preview. Just have him robot mode, you know. So will it be Nicey or Ratchet? Nicey or Ratchet? There's a few steps I always forget on Ratchet. There's his bumper transforms and these lights raise up, kind of. You can't get a really good grip on the mechanism, so kind of. You can open his mouth real wide. And then I realized you can do like an angry, like, come at me, bruh! Ah! But he never does that in the movie, so it's kind of out of character. I don't know. What was the 68? Was the latest Devastator? Let's look it up, boys and girls. You might be right. Have they gotten through 86 already? Let's see. Cliffjumper is 64. And I think that's the highest number other than... Nope, 67 is Constructicon Skipjack. So they're through 67, and I think 68 is the big Constructicon gift set. So you might be wrong there unless I misunderstood you. Because they are at like 68. So they still have like 34 to go before they get to 100. Oh, you think they'll do something special for Studio Series 100? They could. It's possible. No, I didn't get Fans Toys Astro Train. Chosen Prime should be able to loan it to me. I don't tend to do Fans Toys. I don't like the way they transform. So I don't buy them. Some people really like that Fans Toys like nails the presentation for robot mode and usually vehicle mode. Although I think their Astro Train kind of, I don't think that looks like a space shuttle to me very much. So I don't know that they nailed the space shuttle vehicle mode. And the train mode is like vague enough that, you know, it's hard to tell whether it nailed it unless you're a train aficionado. But I know what a space shuttle looks like. And that doesn't quite look like a space shuttle. But they certainly do a nice presentation in robot mode with nice paint and nice heavy die cast. And, it's, you know, the figures are lovely, but the transformation designs on them are just very sloppy in places. And I watched a video of Thomas, and my opinion hasn't changed. Thomas has like a lot of weird little floppy linkages. You know, maybe it's because I do stop motion, that bothers me. But even before I was doing stop motion, I would sit at my, you know, on the sofa, and I would transform a figure where I would just kind of move it just a little bit and just kind of look at how that step is doing. I was kind of obsessed with the steps anyway. And with a Fans Toys figure, if you sat on your sofa and it was halfway transformed, it would just kind of be draped. It would look like a scarf or a shawl. It would just flop. You could kind of chuck it over your arm, and it would just drape over your arm and flop. Not very satisfying in that regard. So I don't tend to get Fans Toys because they annoy me. printing of Thomas, or they won't. I still have hopes that Takara Tomy will tackle some triple changers. It would be nice to see how their designers would approach it. Yeah, Blitzwing, I don't think they've really gotten around to that yet. And they have the Soundwave that's been in production for a long time, and Fans Toys is fine. If you're one of those guys that likes to have the robot mode just sitting on a shelf, and later on you're going to sell it and be able to honestly say never transformed, then Fans Toys is great for you because it's like a wonderful little statue. But the transformations are always just so unsatisfying. It's like it's most of the Fans Toys designs I've seen, including I did buy the Warpath because I can't resist a tank bot, so I had to have Warpath. That's the only Fans Toys I have, and even that one's got floppy linkages holding it together. So all Fans Toys, or most of them, are parts formers that are held together by like little linkages. They may as well just use chain, like a riveted chain, like a chain on this end, a chain on this end. And then you take it apart and you put it back together, and the chains keep it from being a parts former. For me, that's what Fans Toys transformations are for the most part. They little floppy, not even friction jointed linkages. Just, die cast on a floppy joint. And usually not just 2 segments, but like 3 segments, It's ridiculous how they design those transformations. I don't know. I never had any problem with Hound. So maybe I got lucky. Maybe I'm that much better at handling my stuff. But I didn't have any problem with Hound at all. It's certainly, it's like a thin plastic, but it's a very hard plastic, and I didn't have any trouble with it. Maybe if I really scrutinized it, I'd see some stress marks, and I could stress about that. Because, that's what they're for, stress marks. I bought Fans Toys Beachcomber. I'm surprised it could transform same with that sea spray. It looks like a statue. No, they make them look really nice in robot mode, particularly. Not from behind. Fans Toys does the same thing as Takara and Hasbro. Everyone else is like, the back of the robot doesn't matter. Only Unique Toys cares, and DX9 to some extent care about the back of the robot. This thing has it has some kibble, you might have noticed. Anyway, gang, there wasn't too much to discuss this week. If you pick Nice C, there won't be much to discuss because it's a pretty simple figure. But the poll is up. Hey, we could see how it's going. I bet some people have already voted. Let's find out. Oof. Gang. Right now, the poll is at 68% MPM 11 Ratchet this week. So, I don't know. It's looking like Ratchet's going to be the figure this week. It is a first-party figure from Hasbro, so that is usually more interesting to people. There's a lot of people out there who don't even do third-party. But if you want Nice C, you're going to have to get in there and vote. But that's it. You guys have a good evening. One of these two this weekend. One of these two the following weekend. I do have the Devil Savior version of Long Haul. So I did that original split the head of Devastator. This is one of the legs. That is landed in California. It went by boat for 6 weeks. It was so frustrating. That's going to show up at some point, but it'll definitely be after both of these at that point. So probably Devil Savior's Long Haul after these two. Upscales of the New Age Seekers. Oh, that would be awesome. I really like the design of the New Age Seekers. I'll be curious to see that, Max. If you spot those for sale somewhere, let me know. Keep me in mind. That's really cool news. I really like that design, and I thought to myself when I was, because I had the New Age Skywarp, I was like, man, you could scale this up, and it would be it would be better than the Takara figure. So it would be interesting to see what Jinbao does with that. That's cool news. Thanks for sharing. Anyway, good night, everybody.